Hi, Jayanthy ma'am, can you hear me? Ma'am, you're on mute.
Hi, Zain.
Hi, ma'am. Let's see how many people joins. मैं आपको एक कॉल करता हूँ. Hello, everyone. We'll start session in next 10 minutes.
We are waiting for others to join the session.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I hope all of you can hear me. Uh, Please type a yes in the chat box if you can hear me clearly. Thank you. Okay, so let's go ahead and start. Good evening. Thanks a lot for joining us today in this interesting session that I'm planning to present to you guys. We'll talk about the higher education trends in computer science. So give you a brief overview of what happens in the field. And in addition to that, more importantly, I'll also guide you on how you can apply for a master's program abroad and how Galvanize can step in and help you in this process. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and start. Okay, so let me begin by telling you what the session highlights are going to be. So I'm going to start very briefly with an introduction. All of you know about computer science. I don't think I need to tell you what it is, but I'll start very briefly with an introduction about the key milestones and what the future directions would be in this field. Then move on to talk about some key differences and similarities between computer science, AI, machine learning, data science, etc. I will also talk about what are the prerequisites that you should have if you are planning to do a postgraduate degree in computer science. And after talking about all of that and the process, I'll also obviously tell you what are the benefits of getting that degree in computer science. Next, I'll explain the essential steps that are needed for applying for a computer science program abroad. And finally, I'll also talk about the career paths and the salary expectations that you can have after as a computer science graduate. Okay. I'll end the session by talking about some interesting case studies about our students who enrolled with us in the past and who have gone to pursue their master's or their PhD degrees in their dream university. So I'll talk about their profiles briefly and also tell you where they ended up going for their degree. Okay. A brief introduction about myself. My name is Jayanthy Ramakrishnan. I take care of the admissions servicing and the test prep part here at Galvanize. I myself have a PhD from the University of Tennessee, Knoxville in mechanical engineering. And after having worked in universities and colleges and schools, and finally now I'm helping students like you guys achieve their dream to study abroad. Okay. So let me start by showing you this one of these quotes from Steve Jobs in one of his interviews, where he says that everybody should learn to program a computer because it teaches you how to think. I just want to spend a couple of minutes discussing with you on why this is so true. I want to say that, say, about 30 to 40 years ago, when you were not even born, computers were present in our society, but they were not as omnipresent as they are now. Okay, so we had a very tiny subset of people who would do any kind of programming, and even a tinier subset of children who would get into it from their early stages in life. Okay, so at that time when computers was gaining so much of importance everywhere, Steve Jobs told this. And this really makes you understand that coding is not just, some work where you write lines of code, but it's actually a mirror of your thought process. It actually teaches you how to think. Okay, so I think that's why it's very important that we teach our children to do coding, not to just become software developers when they grow up, but it is an exercise which mirrors our thought process. It is a way of codifying our thoughts and seeing them written down in front of us. And this is very true. So I suggest that all of you take a few minutes and think about it and see that how this such a simple sentence is actually very true in our day-to-day life today. Okay, so I'll leave you with that thought and moving on. Let me start with this with the evolution of computer science. Now, my team was able to find this really nice infographic here, which talks about the historical milestones in computer science. Okay, so in this infograph here, you can see that the world of computer science has been shaped by innovations of numerous computer scientists whose contributions over the past century have contributed to the development of popular programming languages, AI, and a lot of other programming standards. Okay. Starting from the simple first computer algorithm in 1843 to the Turing machine, to the first compiler, the development of the C++ program, introduction of the World Wide Web, the Linux operating system, Java, and many other programming languages, and to ChatGPT right now. So we have seen that there have been numerous computer scientists who have helped lay the foundation for our modern technological era. And I'm assuming that all of you here have some interest in computer science, which is why you have decided to join this session today. So all of these names, may be familiar to you. You may have read about them before, or, you could find some inspiration if you go back and read one of their articles, one of their books or something, you will see how they thought, their thought process, and you'll be able to gain some inspiration from that. It's also very important while you look at how the field of computer science has developed in the last few years. You also have to be very clear on what is happening right now. So you should be following all the current trends that are happening. You should be constantly watching the news, reading various pages, various sites, following the titans in the industry, to make sure that you know what the latest thing is. Because while you may not understand all of it, but you never know what will inspire you, what will help you out, what will guide you to what you want to achieve. So it's very important that you are in touch with the field that you're interested in, and you are constantly following these various people that are working in the field. Okay, so please keep that in mind. So you need to know the current trends, the current news, so that you are able to always upskill yourself and get ready for the future. So having said that, let's talk about the current trends. Okay, now the current trends in the CI, one thing that I do want to say is that the computer science field is the most future-proof career field that you can have. As you can see from the previous infograph that I showed you, research in that area started so early on in 1843, and we are developing so many things over there. So this is a future-proof field that you can choose for if you are really interested. Okay. It's always changing, and it has become so enmeshed in our lives today that we can't live without it. The latest computer technology can adjust to our actions can adjust its actions to suit the environment. It is used in carrying out complex surgeries. You can use it to map an organism's genome to understand the genetic history, or even drive a car. So you see that there is a wide array of industries where computers are used. National security interests, healthcare opportunities, and so many other fields where computer science is so prevalent. Okay, so as technology developers or software engineers, what you guys will be doing are building the tools that will solve some of the crises that we are facing right now. You may solve the climate crisis, you may make exceptional improvements in the healthcare industry and make healthcare accessible to rural residents and so on. So these are some of the things where you can actually get into computer science, do what you like, and at the same time make an impact and do something that will contribute to bring a change in the world. Okay, so let's look at some of the current trends. Now what I have here is I have a list. It's not an exhaustive list because I can't give you an exhaustive list. What I have done is I have basically pointed out some of the current trends. I have given the average salaries that are available in these fields, the potential career paths that you can choose after getting a degree in these fields, and what is the education that you need to be excel in these fields. Okay, so for example, generative AI. Now, in this day and age, I don't think there is anyone who hasn't used ChatGPT, right? So if you have used ChatGPT, you are basically using generative AI. So now if you want to work in that field, then your potential career is as a computer researcher, a senior data scientist, robotics engineer, algorithm engineer. Now the education required for that, if you want to be an entry level person, then you just need a bachelor's degree. But if you want to do more, if you want to go on to become a researcher, if you want to go on to become a data scientist, or you want to go on to be known as an algorithm engineer, a robotics engineer, then you need to do a master's or a PhD. Quantum computing is another emerging field. Okay, so instead of where we use binary data, we are also actually using quantums of data. So this is a really emerging field, really new field. This definitely requires a graduate degree. So after getting a bachelor's in computer science or a related STEM field, you will have to get a graduate degree if you want to do more work in the field of quantum computing. Okay. Bioinformatics is again a field, very interesting field. It combines biology with computer science. Basically, what happens is the amount of data that you collect in biology, all of that is analyzed by using computers. Obviously, all of that helps you in bringing about new techniques for various things. One example is sequencing of an organism's genomes. So you have tons of data that needs to be cleaned up, that needs to be analyzed. So that is where there is a marriage of biology and computer science that is happening. Cybersecurity, another hot field, um, with all the cyber threats that people face, companies face, organizations face. This is again a very interesting and a highly sought after field. So again, here a bachelor's degree is enough, but you need to have either a master's degree or a PhD degree to move on to doing more interesting work, or at least you need to have some professional certifications which will let you work in certain fields. Okay. I think if for bioinformatics, I again forgot to mention that if you want to be at an entry level position, a bachelor's degree is fine. But if you want to move on to a leadership level position, a research or a teaching position, then a master's, and for a teaching position, definitely a PhD is needed. Okay. Now, autonomic and autonomous and hybrid systems. So autonomous systems operates with little or no human control, like robots, self-driving cars, and things like that. Autonomic computing, in contrast, controls itself while also responding to the environment. So it's like predictive AI. So these are again very new hot fields, and a lot of research, lot of money is going into these fields. So again, these are sought after positions. A bachelor's degree is enough for this, but if you need to be a professional at a higher level, you will need a PhD here. Now, regenerative agritech, just like bioinformatics, again, it's a very interesting combination of agriculture and computer science here. Basically, how can we improve our agricultural production of our country or any other country by using technological tools? This is something that you will learn in regenerative agritech. Okay, so better ways to rebuild soil, promote food security, those kind of things is what you learn in regenerative agritech. Now, if you see in all of these current trends that I have talked about, a bachelor's degree is more than enough. But if you want to progress ahead, if you want to be at a position, 20, 15 years from today, if you want to be at a position where you are at a managerial level, where you're doing active research, then you definitely should think about getting a graduate degree. Whether you finish your bachelor's, work for some time, and then decide to do that, or go right away after your bachelor's, all of that is perfectly fine. But these are the thoughts that you need to start cultivating so that you are able to plan your future. Okay. Now let me go into a little more detail about computer science. So now when I talk about computer science, it's not just one thing. It's basically a foundation of all the computing disciplines like machine learning, NLP, computing systems, networking, OS, AI, human computing interactions, and so on. So when you do a degree in computer science, you are going to learn about all of these things. Okay. Computer science is like an umbrella that will cover all of these things. Now, you're going to learn everything from algorithms that make up software to how the software interacts with the hardware and how well is the software developed and designed. So these are all things that you will learn in computer science. You will work with mathematical algorithms, coding procedures, data analysis, security algorithms, computational theory, and so on. Now, in all of these disciplines, while I can't explain all of them today, and I'm sure that since assuming that all of you have some background of computer science, you may already know about all of this. I will just take two of them and talk about it a little more in detail. Since AI and machine learning seems to be the most popular among students going abroad for their masters, I'm going to talk about these two. Okay. Now, AI. AI basically aims to create machines that can perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. Okay, so it's a field of computer science that involves engineering of intelligent machines using computer programs. Okay, so basically, you want something that will resemble your human intelligence. So, simulation of human intelligence is done by using algorithms, data, and computations. Now, what is the point of having a degree in AI, or what is the point of AI? Basically, it supports three important business needs. It automates business processes, which thereby increases revenue and efficiency, obviously. You can gain insight through the data analysis, which again, by using the data and by doing the data analysis, by gathering data from your customers or the people, you can improve your processes. So that again leads to increase in revenue, increasing in your process efficiency. And lastly, it engages with customers and employees. So by having AI tools, you are able to actively engage with your customers. Now, having said all of this, it doesn't mean that with the advancement of AI, there is going to be a decline in the requirement of computer science graduates. No. On the other hand, recently there was a survey which said that even though with the advent of AI, universities are still looking for computer science graduates because they need people to work in these fields. So even for AI to develop, you need computer science graduates. So it's never going to replace humans, but it is going to be more advanced because of the research that we do in them. Okay. Okay. Now let's talk about machine learning. Machine learning allows computers to learn and improve from experience without explicit programming. Okay. And it uses the algorithms to analyze the data, identify patterns, and make decisions, thereby improving the process on the whole. Now, the more data a ML system has, the more data you feed to a machine learning system, the better it performs. So this again, is the widespread applications are in robotic control, data mining, autonomous navigation, bioinformatics, just like I told you. So these are some of the things that are done by a machine learning graduate or a person who has specialized in machine learning. Okay. Okay. Now, the other thing I do want to touch upon is the difference between computer science and data science. While I just talked about computer science briefly, I want to point out what happens in data science. Data science is a multidisciplinary field. Here you take large amounts of data, some of which is structured, some of which is raw, and you clean it, enhance it, and basically shape it in such a way that it can help you answer questions about the data. It can help you make predictions about the behavior of a process. So in a way, if you talk to certain experts, they may just tell you that data science is just a fancy name given to the field of statistics, which is true. But here we are applying high-end statistics to the tons of data that we now have access to. Okay, so obviously, if you want to do if you want to specialize in data science, then your statistics and your math has to be extremely strong. You need to know some of the statistical programming languages that will definitely help you out. Okay, so that is the key difference between computer science and data science. So in computer science, you actually design and develop software. In data science, you're analyzing and interpreting data to extract insights. Okay, so some of the applications of computer sciences in software development, cybersecurity, cloud computing. Data science you can do data analysis, predictive modeling, business intelligence, data-driven research, and so on. So I hope all of this is clear, and I'll answer all your questions at the end of the session. Okay. So finally, before I conclude this section, I again found this really nice slide here where it gives you a gist of what a specialization in each of these fields, where is it used. So for example, artificial intelligence is used in ChatGPT. Machine learning, something that we use every day. All of us get tons of emails every day, and we often use the spam filtering in our email engine. So that is what is machine learning. So once you have marked an email as spam, then your the machine learning system helps it to understand that these type of emails are spam, and they automatically go into your spam folder. So that is an example of machine learning. Data science, I just talked about that. And computer science also, I just talked about that. So these are some of the, very niche, very interesting applications of each of these fields that I wanted to show you. Okay, now what is the importance of getting a master's degree in computer science? Now, you have to, whenever, so the most common thing that I come across when I talk to students who are thinking about going abroad is the expense part. Yes, it is going to be expensive to study abroad, definitely. But you have to think of this expense as a strategic investment in your career. You can't think of it as just an expense that you're doing which is going to have no returns. Then it's never going to work out. Okay, so a master's in computer science, because of all the examples that I showed you, because of the types of advances that we have made over the years now, shows you that this is a field, like I said, is future proof. As long as you are upskilling yourself, you are ready to learn all the time, you will never, never be left out. So you have to think of it as a strategic investment in your career. Now, the interesting part is if you do a master's degree in computer science, it doesn't restrict your career options to certain specializations. Because of the curriculum that is included in a master's degree, the things that you learn, it helps you extend yourself into any kind of field. And like I said, looking at the current trends, you can work in any industry. You don't necessarily have to work only in the IT industry. You can work in the healthcare industry. You can work in the agriculture industry. So any industry basically requires a computer science graduate. Okay. When you do a master's degree, which often doesn't happen when you do a bachelor's degree, and especially in India at times, you don't get a lot of research projects to work on. Now, that is not true to every university in India. Let me tell you that. I know that the IITs, the NITs of today, they are all very much into research projects, and there is excellent research going on in all of these universities in India. But of course, because of the amount of money that is spent on R&D on the outside, in the other countries other than India, the students who are studying their masters or their PhD or even their bachelors actually get a lot of opportunities to work on research projects. They get a lot of opportunities to do work on practical aspects of the program. So this is something that is very important that you can achieve by doing a master's degree in computer science. So all of these together makes you a very competitive job candidate when you finish your degree. Now, like I was just showing you in the current trends of computer science, most of the areas that you want to work on, you can get in with a bachelor's degree. But a master's degree makes you a much more attractive candidate for the same position. And it also opens doors for you with respect to future promotions and so on. Okay. Now, a little more about why a master's in CS. Of course, with the dawn of AI, which is a subset of CS, you need to be, this is the field to be in. It again increases your level of employability and competitiveness. There is our increasing reliance on cloud computing, cybersecurity, again makes this field, something that will never be outdated. All the skills that are acquired in a master's degree can be applied in different careers and different industries, like I just pointed out. And there is always going to be a growing need for tech expertise. So all of this, makes it a very compelling argument for you to do a master's in computer science. Okay. Now, two things that I want to again talk about here is very often when we counsel students, they come to us and they say, I don't know if I want to do a master's in computer science, or if I want to do a master's in AI, or if I want to do a master's in data science, or if I want to do a master's in machine learning. They are not sure what they need to do. So then, we explain to them various things about the differences in both the degrees. And then based on their interest, again, I'll show you how to do this kind of brainstorming in the next few slides. But let me start with here. For example, if you're doing a master's in computer science, then you will get a broader computer science foundation. Whereas, say you decide to do a master's in AI, then you're going to deep dive into the specific theory, into the techniques and applications of that specialization. Okay, while you will still have some of the CS foundation, you will be working more into that specific specialization. In the CS, your curriculum will include core CS concepts as well as electives. So in a pure computer science degree, you will learn about all the possible electives based on your interest. Of course, you can't learn about all because then you'll be doing your master's degree for a very long time. In that stipulated amount of time, based on the number of courses that you can take, you can then choose, okay, I want to do this and this. I want to do a combination of, say, data science and maybe AI, or maybe AI and ML. So these are the kind of electives that you can choose when you're doing a pure computer science program. Whereas if you're doing a master's in computer science with a specialization, then you will focus only on courses that are related to that specialization, and you will have very few non-core electives. And those non-core electives will be those basic courses that you will do at the beginning of your master's degree. Okay. Obviously, because you have done more work, or rather you have a broader foundation in a pure master's, your career paths are going to be broader, as in you can work in various fields. Whereas if you have a specialization, then it will be a more specialized kind of a job. Okay. Prerequisites are almost the same. Again, both of them will need to have a strong CS foundation. But for a specialization, you may have some additional requirements that you will need to do. For example, if you're going to do a specialization in data science, you will need to have a very strong statistics background. Okay, so these are some of the differences that you should keep in mind. Now, let's talk about the prerequisites and the requirements. Now, before you decide today that I want to know, if you have already decided, well and good. If you have not decided, then this set of questions will help you. If you have already decided, I would still request you guys to think about these questions and write down these answers so that you can use them when you're preparing your application package. So let me say how. Okay. First of all, you need to know what are your long-term career goals. What do you plan on doing? When I say long term, doesn't mean, really, really long. You can talk about, 5-year plan, 10-year plan. That will help you understand where you want to start. When you have a goal, it's okay. When you have a goal, it makes it more easier to know where you should start and so that you know where you will end up. So do you want to be in a research field, or do you want to be working in the industry? Those are the kind of questions that you can ask in your long-term goals and try to find answers for that. what specialization interests you most? So now, based on the information that I gave you, and of course, you all of you may have a lot of information already, and there is a plethora of information available everywhere. Based on all of that, is there a particular specialization that excites you? Or do you just want to do a pure computer science degree and then decide later whether you want to specialize in a specific part of that? So that is something, again, you have to decide. Now, this is very important. Once you have the answers for question number 1 and 2, you really need to look back at your profile and see, is your CS background strong? In the core CS subjects, is your background really strong? Okay, so let me give you an example. Recently, we had a student who applied to a university, and the requirement was just, having 70%. The the student had 70%, and which is why she applied to that university, but then she got a reject, only to later find out that even though she had satisfied the basic requirement of 70%, the hardcore CS courses like data structures, like programming, Python programming, she had got C's and D's in those subjects. Now, when an admission officer looks at your application package, yes, while you may have met the basic criteria of even submitting an application, they are going to look into the core subjects of that program. Okay, so if you are very weak or if your grades are not that great, then it is going to be a challenge for you to get an admit. So these are some of the things that you need to think about. Okay, I want to do a computer science degree. Is my background, are my core subjects strong? So for another simple example, say somebody wants to do a master's or a PhD in mathematics, but they have got very poor grades in math. It doesn't make sense, right? You may have got great grades in all the other subjects, but if you have got poor grades in math, then it doesn't make sense that you want to do a master's in mathematics. So this is something that you guys need to think about. So look at your profile, analyze your profile, and see if you meet those conditions. Next thing, if you want to do computer science, you need to have good programming skills. Do you like programming? While I've told you that, these days, even school children are being taught to do programming, it's not necessary that everybody likes it. So do you like it? Do you like to write programs? Do you like to do the flow chart? Do you like to, think logically and come up with the solution? So these are some of the things that you guys need to introspect and think about. Next, again, like I said, even if you're doing computer science, you need to still be comfortable with math and statistics to some extent. So these are some courses that are prerequisites for getting a degree in computer science. So I'll talk about the specific courses in my later slides. Now, the most important thing is, like we just talked about, the tech field evolves quickly. It changes a lot. So once you get your computer science degree, it doesn't mean that you're done. Once you get your degree and get a job, it doesn't mean that you're done. You have to keep upskilling yourself, because only then you are going to remain current. Otherwise, somebody else is going to take up your job, or some software that you are working has become outdated now and something better has replaced it. So you need to continuously update your skills, post your masters to stay relevant in the fast-paced industry. Is this something that you are ready to do lifelong? So only then, once you have had answers to all these questions, based on the answers, you can then decide whether you want to do a master's in computer science or not. Okay. The other thing you want to think about is, what type of a profile do you have? Are you an engineer or a practitioner? That is, if you're given a problem, do you just find a solution for it and implement it? Or are you a kind of a researcher profile where you actually find out what the issue is and try to find a better solution, try to come up with something new? So this again, why is this important? Because this again, helps you determine your long-term goal. Where do you want your career to be? What do you want to do? Do you want to just build a real world solution using the existing technologies? or do you want to come up with new technologies? So these are the kind of questions that you need to answer. And why do you need answers to these questions that I've shown you here in this slide and the previous slide? Because these are the things that will go into your statement of purpose, into your essays that you're going to submit to the universities. Okay. So universities and the admission committee wants to see how you think. What are your ideas? How did you come up with these ideas? How do you present them? So these are some of the things that are, every admissions committee, every admissions officer will look into a student's profile. So you sitting and doing this kind of soul searching, this kind of exercise for yourself will really help you in writing out your SOP later on. Okay. Okay. Now let's come to the more the serious part of the academics. So if you want to do a master's in computer science, a bachelor's degree in computer science is ideal, but it is not mandatory. So for example, if you have a bachelor's in mechanical engineering, it does not say anywhere that you cannot go into computer science for your master's. It's just that you will have to show that you have the relevant coursework. Or if you have started working after your bachelor's, you have to show that you have worked in that in that area, which justifies you switching careers at this point. So if you basically in a computer science aspirant for a master's degree, you need to have programming skills. You need to have a background of discrete mathematics, computer systems, linear algebra is a must, and of course calculus. Okay. So these are some of the coursework that you should have done in your undergrad if you want to do a bachelor's in computer science. Now, what happens if you haven't done these? It's not like, oh, you can't apply. Okay. Like I said, having a CS background is an ideal candidate for a master's in CS. Other STEM disciplines are also good candidates. Now, why? Because many of the courses that I showed you in the previous slide are something that you guys do study in your bachelor's, in your other engineering fields, or in your other undergrad courses as well. You may not go into a lot of depth, but you do study that. Where you will be lacking is the programming part. You may not have as good programming skills as a computer science graduate would. So that is something where you have to put in the extra effort, learn the programming part on your own, join some classes and things like that to show that you have done the extra work to fill in that gap in your profile. Now, people from humanities background, this is a very less common switch that, I mean, we have students who are, from various engineering STEM fields who want to go into computer science. That is almost an everyday thing. Humanities background, we get very less people who say that, I have a humanities background, but I want to go into computer science. But it is still not, something that you can't do. It's just that if you are highly motivated, if you have taken the effort to do some programming languages, if you can show that you have mastered the math courses that are needed, then you are more than welcome to apply for a computer science program. And like I said, all the universities look at a profile holistically. They want to see, they welcome people from diverse backgrounds because, it increases the diversity in their student population. So that is why it is perfectly okay that no matter in which field you are or you have done your undergrad in, you can switch to computer science at any point. Okay. Now let's look at the essential skills. This is kind of a repeat of what I just told. So you need to have the advanced math courses. You need to have the programming expertise. You need to have knowledge of data structure and algorithms, and you need to have problem solving skills. Okay. Now I'm going to quickly go through this slide. These are just some of the common subjects that you will learn in your master's. Now, if you see that none of these subjects are going to be something that you're seeing the name for the first time. You have all learned some of these parts or at least done the basics of these courses in your undergrad itself. So a master's is going to be an extension of all that, but a more rigorous extension, more specialized extension. It's not going to be easier, but it's going to be an extension. Okay. There is also, like I already told, a lot of practical components to the degree as well. You will get a chance to do projects in the real world. You will get a chance to do internships, and you will have research opportunities as well. Now, all of these will be a part of your curriculum in the master's program. Okay. Now, what are you going to get after your master's degree? So you will have a strong theoretical foundation anyway. You will also have developed the hands-on skills by, attending various internships, doing research projects, etc. By doing your thesis for your master's, you would have, problem-solving approach is a skill that you would have developed because you would have done the research to write your master's thesis on that. That obviously will also enhance your critical thinking and analytic skills. And you would also have worked with various people in your field and related fields, because you will get a chance to go on to present in conferences. You will get to meet people in conferences. So this is the kind of this is what you will get. These are some of the things that you will get when you do a master's in computer science. Okay, now let's look at the application process. So what are the required documents? GRE scores. Now GRE scores, if you're applying to the US, it is definitely recommended that you take the GRE. While many universities these days have waived off the GRE, especially after the pandemic, the universities are bringing it back. And if GRE is optional, but an applicant has decided to take the GRE, it shows the extra initiative. Also for international students, it is advisable because the competition is very high. So by taking the GRE, you tend to stand out in a pool of applicants if your score is extremely good. IELTS or TOEFL scores, again, standardized English language tests are mandatory because if you are an international student, you need to show that you have the necessary English proficiency to be able to cope up with the courses that are taught abroad. Resume. Resume is definitely important because that is what shows, highlights whatever you have done in your career until the point when you're applying. SOPs and essays. Again, like I'll talk about this more in detail in the next few slides, but basically these are essays that you send to the admissions officers, which highlights as well as in detail describes your activities and your motivation. Letters of recommendations are again, from from your professors, from your managers who can vouch for your candidacy. Transcripts, like I said, academics is very important, and that is what is used in highlighted in your transcripts. Okay, let's talk briefly about the GRE. So in the GRE, it basically tests you for your your verbal and your quant. And the test is about 2 hours. Each section is about 107, is out of 170, giving you a total score of 340. Normally, if you're applying to a STEM program, you need to have a strong quant. A strong quant is definitely something above 160. Okay, so please keep that in mind. So I would say about 1 to 2 months of preparation is needed for a GRE. We have had students who have prepped in lesser time also, but ideally 1 to 2 months is a good estimate to prepare, good amount of time to prepare. Okay. GRE can be taken only 5 times in a year, and you can always reattempt to improve your score. Okay, test prep. So TOEFL and IELTS both have a validity for 2 years. They both test you on listening, reading, speaking, and writing. Okay, and you're given the scores. Many US and UK schools will require you to demonstrate your English ability by using this exam. So very, very few universities give you a waiver and tell you that you don't have to take the English language test. Most of the international students have to take these tests. Okay. Galvanize is a premier partner of ETS India. So we do have discount vouchers if you want to take the TOEFL and the GRE. Okay, now let's talk about the resume. So the resume is a brief information of your work experiences, your educational background, and so on. It's normally only for an academic resume. See, you don't have to make a resume. It's not a resume for a job that you're applying. It's an academic resume. So if you give a 5-page resume, it is not going to improve your chances of admission. You need to keep your resume for a master's program between 1 to 1.5 pages. Okay. Doesn't mean that you have to not include important things, but you have to pick and choose what you want to include so that your resume is not extremely lengthy. Okay, and please don't put any personal information. There's no need to put your date of birth, your marital status. There is no need to put any picture of you. That is not what an academic resume is about. It's very plain looking, and that is what the admission officers want. Okay, so best to keep the resume between 1 or 2 pages. Okay. Now, a statement of purpose. Now, this is an essay document. It is roughly about, I would say, 1,000 words. Normally, every university has a specific requirement. Now, this is an essay document where you talk about your motivation to do the degree, your long-term, your short-term goals, how you worked upon it, what did you do so far, and how do you think that you are going to contribute to the program, to the university that you want to get into. So you have to specifically talk about, so if you are applying for computer science, you have to specifically talk about your motivation for that. If you're switching your fields, you need to talk about why you decided to switch your field and what efforts you took to make that happen. So these are some of the things that will be covered in a SOP. It will follow a standard introduction, body, and conclusion structure. So what are the must-haves? You should have an inclination towards the said subject. You have to show interest via in that target program, via educational background, your projects, your internships, your online course. So whatever you have listed in your resume has to be explained in detail over here. That doesn't mean you just talk about everything, as if your SOP is a lengthier form of your resume, but you have to add some emotion to it. You have to talk about the motivation part. You have to talk about a story. So those are some of the things that you can talk about. You can talk about the challenges that you faced in any part of your life, how you worked on it. So those are kind of the things that you can bring out in your SOP. If you have done any teamwork, then what you did in that team, how were you part of that team, what was your role? Those are the kind of things that you will bring out in a SOP. Okay. And your future career aspirations. This is very important. And it is also very important that you don't send a standard SOP to all the universities that you're applying. You have to customize it for every university that you're applying to. And the way to do that is by looking at the research program, by looking at the program on that university's website, seeing which professors' work interests you, seeing what are the labs over there that you would like to work on, what are the extracurriculars offered by that university. So, that shows the university that you have taken the effort to do this research. You have taken the effort to look at their programs. And that really makes you stand out rather than, sending a cookie cutter SOP to every university that you want to apply. So please don't do that. Okay. Now, in addition to your SOP, many universities these days ask for a lot of additional essays. One is the diversity statement. Now, this I already talked about. It focuses on how you will add diversity to the incoming class. Research statement mostly required for doctoral programs, but certain research-oriented master's programs these days are also asking for a research statement. Okay. Personal history statement. Here you can, now normally the universities will either ask for an SOP or a personal statement. Here again, it's very similar to your SOP. You will talk about your personal challenges, your achievements, your pathway, and those kind of things in a personal statement. Scholarship essay. Now, many universities offer scholarships to international students, but they want to hear from you as to why you think you deserve that scholarship. And for doing that, you need to submit a scholarship essay. So you are going to talk about why you deserve that scholarship money and how it will help you achieve your long-term goals. Okay. Letters of recommendation. Now, this again is very important. See, the admission officers don't know you. They are going to judge you by your application package. Now, it helps if somebody who is a peer to them, that is, who is your professor, who is working in a similar field like theirs, is able to vouch, is able to say that, hey, this person is a good candidate and he will be a good addition, he or she will be a good addition to your master's program. So that is why letters of recommendations are very important. So you need to pick your recommenders by making sure that you have a good rapport with them, by making sure that they will give you good recommendations. Okay. So this can be your advisor from university. It can be a professor that you have taken a lot of courses with. It can be a professor that you have done a research project with. If you have done an internship during your undergrad, it can be the internship manager. If you're a working professional, it can be your immediate manager. So those are the kind of recommenders that you can get. You cannot get a recommendation from a friend, or you cannot get a recommendation from a coach unless you're applying for a sports related program. So please remember that. A LOR will normally follow an introduction, body, conclusion format. Again, a letter of recommendation is generally not more than 1 page long. Okay. And it doesn't need to have very fancy words and all that. It needs to have a professional look. It needs to be look like a document that is being written by a professional. I mean, a professional, a person, a manager and all that. It doesn't have to have this fancy vocabulary and all that. So please keep that in mind if you are drafting your letters of recommendation and giving it to your recommenders for approval. Okay. So I've mentioned that already. Again, it must not exceed 1 page. Average length is 500 words. Now, another important aspect of studying abroad, like I told you, is the expense part. Even if I tell you that, look at it as an investment, but the fact that you have to put in that investment is not a small matter. And when you compare the currency, yes, it is very expensive to study abroad. So which is why you should explore all the possible funding options that you can have. Now, the best option, of course, is to get financial aid from the university, that is, get a scholarship. So that I will talk about that. The other option is to get education loans. Nowadays, there are a lot of options, lot of banks offering education loans for studying abroad. If you are a good candidate, if you have secured and admit to a good university. So this is something that you can look into. And many times the clause of the loan is that you have to start paying it back only after you have finished your degree and gotten a job. So that is again something that many students opt for. Of course, sometimes your family is able to fund you, or if you have been a working professional for some time, you may have some saved up funds as well. So that is something that you can use as well when you are deciding to go abroad. Okay. Now let's talk about the fellowship, the scholarships that you get from the university. Normally, there are 3 types of scholarships that you get: a fellowship, a teaching assistantship, and a research assistantship. A fellowship is something that your profile is so good that they give you a full tuition waiver as well as a monthly stipend. And you don't have to do any extra work for it. They just want you to be a part of their class cohort. In such a case, you can just focus on your courses. You can just focus on the research you want to do and complete your degree. So that is the fellowship. Because it's such a good deal, obviously it's very difficult to get, and your profile has to be exceptional to get a fellowship. The other option is a TA. Now, this is where you get a tuition waiver and you also take some classes, or you are an assistant to a professor at the university to help him with his or her classes. Okay. So here again, normally you will have a tuition waiver and you will get a stipend every month, which will take care of your expenses. But at the same time, you will have to work extra in addition to your own classes and your own research. You will have to work additionally extra. A research assistantship again is similar to a teaching assistantship, but here instead of teaching, you will be doing a research work. Now this is a little more time saving for you because the research that you work on can become a part of your master's thesis. So you are uh, getting paid for working on something that you can use for your master's thesis. So that is the research assistantship. Okay. Now, to summarize everything, you have a higher chance of getting a scholarship if you have an excellent profile, if you have an excellent application package, and you are able to outline all of these well in your application package. Okay. So that is where Galvanize can help. Now, it is important that you start early. Now, those of you, so normally the intakes abroad are one that is starting in the month of August, September, or October, and depending on the country that you're going to. Or there is something called as a spring intake, which starts in the month of Jan, Feb, around that time, again, depending on the country that you're going to. Now, if you're planning to go in the fall intake, that is, if you're planning to go start your degree program in the month of August 2025, then right now you are here, August, October 2024. You should be in the process of submitting your applications. Now, if you haven't started any of these process, it's still okay because many universities have deadlines, especially if you're targeting the US, have deadlines until the month of Jan and Feb. So you could still, decide that I'm going to go abroad next year. You can quickly finish your GRE by preparing for it for a month, or you can look for universities which have waived off the GRE. Take your TOEFL IELTS, start working on your essays, and then do your application. So again, if you join Galvanize, what we will do is we will analyze your profile, shortlist universities for you, help you with the SOP, LORs, and the other essays, and then you can submit your applications in time. Once you get your admits, which will again, your admits will start rolling in the months of Jan and Feb. By May, June, you should be able to decide which university you want to go. And then if you're an international student who needs a visa, then you can start working on the visa process. So this is the timeline for a fall 2025 intake. Now, if you're planning to go only in fall 2026, that is, if you are currently a third year undergrad, or if you have finished your undergrad but you're going to work for 1 year, you're going to finish your undergrad in 2025 but work for 1 year, or you have already finished your undergrad, you have decided to work for 2 years, then if you're going to go for fall 2026, I still think that you should start your process early because you can do the process at a relatively relaxed pace. You can focus the current year and until mid of next year to do some profile building. That is, if you're not from a CS background, then you could pick up courses related to CS. You could try to find some internships. You could find a job in in that field. Or if you are in the CS field already, then you could always try to see how you can enhance your profile. You could start working on the GRE. Just because universities have waived off the GRE this right now, the same universities may bring back the GRE next year. So you want to make sure that you are prepared for it. TOEFL IELTS is something that you should only take when you are ready to apply or just before because its validity is only for 2 years. That is why I have put it in next. Then in the months of June, July, you should start working on your essays. You can do your applications from August to October. And then once you finish all your applications by the month of November, you can wait for your application decisions. So please take a screenshot of this timeline if you are targeting for fall 2026 and make sure you follow it as closely as possible. Okay, so now that I've given you a gist of the entire process, let's talk about what happens after you get your master's. What are the career opportunities available? What are the demands of the industry? Okay, so the computer science is obviously you have a wealth of exciting career opportunities that can happen. So we have already talked about that, so I'm not going to repeat that there. But the areas that you could work are in the technology field, the finance, healthcare, or automotive. So these are some of the fields that you could work in. Okay. You could work as a software developer. Again, this is an extremely in-demand position. There is a consistent demand for this due to the evolving software needs. And you need to be good at programming. So this is something that you can think about after your master's. Okay. And this is the average salary that I have listed here. Cloud engineer, again, there is a growing demand for a cloud engineer in IT, telecommunications, financial services. Because of the demand, this is a position which has a very high job security. It is also a niche profile, so it's very difficult for to find cloud engineers. So this is again a very niche, high job security profile that you can think about. Okay, so these are some of the platforms that you need to be familiar with. And again, the average salary is also higher than that of a software engineer. AI architect. So here, again, like I said, there is a growing demand in the companies to navigate their systems and to integrate the AI into their system. So this is where an AI architect comes into picture. You can design and build the technical infrastructure when you're working with large scale AI systems. You will be an expert in cloud computing, which also makes it a good option for you to think about cloud engineering. So again, there is a little bit of multidisciplinary approach that you can take here. And you'll be working in distributed systems. You'll have a deep understanding of the AI algorithms and so on. You'll have a highly competitive salary here as well. If you see that the numbers are increasing as I'm going through different profiles. Okay. A machine learning engineer again has a high demand in almost all the fields: tech, finance, healthcare, automotive. Again, strong job security because companies are increasingly relying on machine learning for their core functions to improve their efficiency, to improve their revenue. So it's very important field as well. Again, the salary expectations are this much. Now, all of these numbers will all depend on your experience and which location, which country you're working in and so on. Okay, so these are just some estimates that I have given. Again, if you look at this, these are some of the highest paying jobs in the computer science field in 2024. And one thing I do want to point out that out of all those jobs that I pointed out, that I have showed you here, the data scientist and the cybersecurity positions are the most difficult to find because most of these positions require more than a bachelor's degree. Okay, the amount of work, the amount of research that is involved in these positions is much higher than what a bachelor's degree candidate can do. So that is why these positions are more competitive to fill. So by doing a master's degree, you are already, one step ahead, and you easily become a good aspirant for these kind of positions. Okay. Okay. So I do want to point out one more thing. If you recently there was this talk by Neelkant Mishra where he said that the amount of money that is spent in research in India is much less as compared to the advanced countries. So while we have a lot of STEM graduates here, we still have a lot of challenges in the country. That is because the amount of money that goes into R&D is quite less. So at least for getting a good education, it is definitely a good option to explore studying abroad and then coming back to India if that is where you want to settle down eventually. But this is the thought that I want to you guys to think about a little bit. Okay, now let's move on quickly to the case studies that I have. So let me start with Saksham. He was from BITS Bilani. If you see that he has a average GPA score of 7.5. a good GRE score and a good TOEFL score, done a lot of activities related to computer science, and he finally went in for a master's program in Carnegie Mellon. And I think he also is doing specifically into the cybersecurity program. So that was something that he was interested in. Okay. We have Shubham from IIT Roorkee. Excellent GPA, excellent GRE score, and he ended up going to ETH Zurich. Again, he wanted to work with natural language processing, so that was something that he was passionate about. So he went for a master's in computer science with a specialization in NLP. Kiran is from VIT Vellore. Good GPA, good GRE score. Was interested, had a lot of experience with data science when he was here in India, and then he decided to go for a master's in computer science at NYU. Sukrut has a good GRE. The overall profile is good. You can see that they have a lot. He has a lot of projects and activities. Again, went into one of the top universities in the US, University of Chicago, for a master's in computer science. Sharon is from SSN Chennai. Good score, average GRE score, not great. But Purdue had waived the GRE at that time when she applied. So she was able to get into a good program at Purdue University. Sumed, again, excellent GPA score. University of Southern California is very well known. Of course, being in the California belt, the options for jobs, internships are also very high. So he went to USC for his master's in computer science. Okay. So those were some of the case studies that we had about successful students who have gone abroad for their master's program. A little information about Galvanize before I take questions from you guys. We provide end-to-end solutions for students and working professionals who want to pursue a global degree. We do have profile building options where we have counselors who work one-on-one with you to help you build your profile and tell you what you can do to make your profile stand out. We help you with test preparation, SAT for the undergrads, GRE, TOEFL, IELTS for graduate studies. And we have an admissions team where we help students for bachelor's, master's, MBA, and doctorate degrees. We are founded and managed by the alumni of Stanford, IIT Madras, and IIM Ahmedabad. And this is our team here. So you can see that we all have degrees either from very top universities in India, or we have studied abroad and we have that experience and we have come back and we are helping students like you. So please do reach out to us. Okay. Let me see if I have any questions. Yes, ma'am, currently I'm pursuing a bachelor's in ECE. Can I also? Yes, definitely. I hope you did attend the session and you found it useful. Like I said, changing your major is not a difficult task at all. So no matter what your background is, as long as you have the basic requirements, you will definitely be able to apply for a master's in computer science. Again, if you're in doubt, if you're not sure whether you qualify, then please do fill out the profile evaluation form that my colleague has shared in the chat box. And we will reach out to you and give you a free profile evaluation where we will understand your profile and then we will guide you accordingly. So please do that. Any other questions? I hope all of you found this session to be useful. Sahil, do you have any other has anybody sent you any questions?
No, Jayanthy, we can.
Okay, so I hope all of you found this session useful. Please take a minute to fill out the profile evaluation form that has been shared by Sahil in the chat box. Somebody has raised their hand. Is there a question? If you have a question, please type it in the chat box and I'll answer it. If not, we can wrap up the session. Thank you very much for attending this session today. I hope you guys found it useful. Again, please fill out the form and we will reach out to you. That is a free session, just to get an idea, to understand your profile and give you some suggestions.